We have Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, right? This is above Avoya versus Aljamain Sterling, by the way. What's going on, MMA fans, and welcome back to the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and on today's episode, I am joined once again by my co-host, Elijah. How's it going, Elijah?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We're coming off of a pound-for-pound list from last week where you are just now getting flamed in the comments for your wrong opinions on your pound-for-pound list.
When it comes to pound for pound, I believe I have one of the best lists in MMA history.
If you believe that, then that is your personal opinion, and no one can say otherwise because it's your opinion. But I am saying that opinions can be wrong, and that yours is. You can believe what you want. That doesn't mean your opinion is right, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys want to check out last week's episode, we made a pound-for-pound list for who we think are the top 15 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Well, we did a top 20, and then we squished that down into a top 15. But today we are going to be doing predictions for UFC 310 Pantoja versus Asakura. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Haven't really heard it much yet. Kind of got to get it in because he is debuting in the main event of a pay-per-view for a world title.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That hasn't happened in a long time, but that is going to be the reality of this coming Saturday. Co-main event, Rachmanov versus Gary. Gain versus Volkov also on that card, and the entire prelims are stacked. We're going to go through the entire card and predict it. Winner gets this title, as always. You've been claiming an interim title for like months now. I've been on I think I'm on 8 title defenses at this point. I don't remember. Wow. I don't remember the last time you've won this belt. So we'll see if that's going to happen this week. We're kind of just going to jump right into it. We're going to start our predictions. We don't have much time, so we're going to try and move through it fairly quickly. We don't really have much else to talk about on this episode. We're really just going to stick to just doing our predictions for this card. We are going to do a live reaction, most likely. Probably be me, Matt, Jake, maybe. If you want to come if you could make it for the card, you're free to pull up. But that'll probably be out on Sunday. Please come back for our live reactions to that. But for now, we are ready to jump right in to predicting UFC 310. First up on the prelims, on the early prelims, and the fact that this is even first up on the early prelims is already crazy. Kennedy Njoku, I think that's how you pronounce his name, versus Luaz Buriski. No clue how you pronounce that. It's a heavyweight fight, 13-5 for Kennedy, and LB, we'll call him, is 9-5-1. So I think I know who I'm picking. So either KN or LB. 3, 2, 1. I'm going Kennedy.
LB.
You're going the other guy. Okay. I already see where this is going. You do this every week. I already see where this is going. Okay. Next up on the early prelims, we have Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. Chase has been looking really good lately, 14-3-1. He's had some tough losses, but he's also on a winning streak right now. Clay Guida's Clay Guida, 38-21. He's kind of the most 50-50 fighter on the roster. He's been around for ages. Chase Hooper is also a grappler. He's good on the ground. Clay Guida is a wrestler. Let's see who you got. Chase Hooper, Clay Guida.
This is going to be hard. I've seen Clay Guida fight in person.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I love Clay Guida. Clay Guida's, I love the burp, the famous burp that he had, or he does multiple times. I love Clay Guida. But man, 3, 2, 1, Chase Hooper's on the come up.
Chase Hooper.
He's got to get it done. I'm thinking by submission, probably first, second round. I like Chase Hooper. I think he's going to do big things in this lightweight division. Well, maybe not big things in the lightweight division, but I feel like top 15.
Yeah.
Maybe makes it into the top 10. I don't really see him ever fighting for a world title, but I do like the kid. He's really good. He's like our age, basically. I think he's only like a year or two older than us.
Oh, wow.
Let me check that out real quick. Now I'm curious because I am 22 right now. Let's see how old Chase Hooper is. Bear with us for a second. You're gonna guess 20. He is 25. He's only 3 years older than me. A little 2.5 years older than me.
Oh wow.
So Chase Hooper, young kid, got a long future ahead of him. Already 14-3. Yeah. That's really good for 25. I mean, most of these guys are like 30 going into their 9th fight.
Yeah.
So got a lot of experience already for a young kid. I'm going with him. Next up, Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. Michael Chiesa is 19-7. Max Griffin is 20-10. My marker is dying. 3, 2, 1. Michael Chiesa.
Max Griffin.
Oh, you went with Max Griffin. Okay. So
seems like a pretty even fight.
Yeah, I mean, one's a grappler, one's more of a striker. We'll see how it turns out. Michael Chiesa hasn't really been the most consistent guy, so I do feel like Max Griffin could catch him, but I'm sticking with Michael Chiesa. All right, next up, we've got Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. Cody Durden, I think, is number 15 in the flyweight division. Joshua Van just lost his last fight to Charles Johnson.
Yeah.
I think, but, I mean, Joshua Van was winning that fight up until the moment he got knocked out. He's 11-2. He's been doing really big things. Cody Durden, I'm pretty sure got a win in his last fight. Looked really good, 17-6-1. This is going to be a tough fight, but I think I know who I'm going with. Joshua Van or Cody Durden. 3, 2, 1. I'm going with
JV.
Joshua Van. All right, he's the blue chip prospect, and he might take a few losses on the way up, but I do see him fighting for a title one day, honestly. The flyweight division is very open at this moment. Next up, we got a catchweight bout between Chris Weidman and Eric Anders. This was supposed to be on the last card in New York. It got moved back to this. I'm guessing a catchweight bout. They didn't want to remake middleweight. Probably going to be 195, I would think, around there.
Yeah.
All right. I think we predicted this last time, Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders, and then it got taken off the card. If you want to switch your pick, you can. I know who I'm picking, though. 3, 2, 1, Chris Weidman. I think didn't you pick Eric Anders last time?
Nah.
You picked Chris Weidman?
Yeah.
All right, and that's it for the early prelims. Now we're moving up to the prelims, where it just gets even better from here. I wish Vicente Luque versus Nick Diaz was still on this card. It is not anymore. First one up on the main card, or on the prelims, Randy Brown versus Brian Battle. That is a banger to put on the first fight of the prelims. Randy Brown versus Brian Battle.
Yeah.
Randy Brown 19-5. Brian Battle 12-2. Brian Battle seems like he's the prospect of the division. Randy Brown is kind of the, what would you call him? The gatekeeper of the top 15.
Yeah.
If you beat Randy Brown, you're more than likely going to fight in the top 15 in your next fight. Brian Battle's on his way up. All right, we'll see. All right, oh man. 3, 2, 1. I got Brian Battle. All right, we both got Brian Battle. Yeah, I like Brian Battle. I think he's been doing really good lately. Randy Brown has had some iffy performances. I think Brian Battle could probably catch him. All right, next up, Mavsor Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling on the frickin' prelims, dude. Not even the featured bout of the prelims. There's still 2 fights left to go on the prelims. How is this fight not on the main card? When we get to the main card, we'll see the people that are actually on the main card. This should be like co-main event. Honestly, this should be above Rahmanov versus Gary, honestly. This is a number 1 contendership fight.
Yeah.
No matter which way you cut it, the winner of this is more than likely going to fight for the title in their next fight.
Like, Aljo was a champion. Like,
exactly.
This is a high-level fight.
And Evloev has beaten the guy that's basically next up in line, Diego Lopez.
Yeah.
Like, Diego Lopez kind of cut the line. Evloev is 18-0. I don't know why he's cut the line at this point. Evloev already beat him. I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, Evloev's boring. Diego Lopez is exciting.
Yeah.
I get that, but still, at the end of the day, there's something called integrity of the sport. You know? But, all right, Mavsor Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. I wish I had a better marker. Give me a sec. All right. Mavsor Evloev, Aljamain Sterling. 3, 2, 1.
Aljo.
I've got Evloev. Okay, if you want to go with Aljo, you can go with Aljo. I'm going with Evloev. You don't mess with that Russian wrestling, dude. I don't care how good Aljamain Sterling is. Come on, he's gonna get beat up by Massaravloyev. That's just how I feel though. Once again, my opinion. Opinions can be wrong. We'll see if mine is wrong. Next up, we've got Vicente Luque versus Thurimba Garumbo or Thurimba Garumba. He's the guy that's been promoted by The Rock for the past couple of years. He's like The Rock's like protege, I guess you would call it. I don't know how you would put it.
Yeah.
He's The Rock's guy. Vicente Luque 22-10-1. Garumbo is 14-4. Luque, I'm pretty sure Luque's last fight was getting knocked out by Joaquin Buckley. Pretty sure. Garumbo's on a win streak right now. You ready?
What are the names?
Garumbo or Vicente Luque? 3, 2, 1.
Vicente Luque.
I've got Garumbo. All right. Moving up to the main event of the prelims, we have Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know, right? This is above Avoya versus Aljamain Sterling, by the way. So Dominic Reyes coming off of a win in his last fight over Dustin Jacoby.
Yeah.
Anthony Smith coming off of a loss against, I'm pretty sure his last fight was against, what's his name? He just fought for the title. Khalil Roundtree. Pretty sure his last loss was getting knocked out by Khalil. Oh, no, he got beat up by, what's his name? He got beat by... Oh
I remember that fight, too.
Yeah, he just got beat on short notice against, damn, I see him perfectly. He's the Georgian guy. Oh, my God, why can't I think of his name? He's right... Oh, Roman Dolidze.
Roman Dolidze, yes.
Roman Dolidze beat him up in his last fight, moving up to light heavyweight. I need to turn that heater off. That thing is... It is too goddamn hot in here for that heater to be on. You know what? This time I think I'm going to leave it in. I usually cut this part. This is getting ridiculous. All right. Where were we? Oh, yeah.
Roman Dolidze.
Roman Dolidze beat up Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is a washed-up old fighter. No, I'm just kidding. I like Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith has probably still got some wins left in him, but let's see. 3.
Him fighting Dominic Reyes.
I know. This is a fight that should have happened like 10 years ago at this point. Or like 5-6 years ago. They both fought John Jones back-to-back. Like, I think Thiago Santos was in between. I think it was Smith, Thiago Santos, then Reyes. Mm-hmm. They were like right there in the division with each other the whole time.
Anthony Smith used to be really good.
I know. These two were basically one spot apart on the rankings for the last 5 years. So, all right, 3, 2, 1. I got Dominic Reyes. Yeah, I think Dominic Reyes is finally back on the up and up. Coming off of that win last time.
Yo.
What?
Anthony Smith is just a character. The fact of him fighting Dominic Reyes is just like...
I know. I know. It's great. But honestly, it's one of the fights that kind of makes sense. I mean, both guys have kind of been on the...
They have the same story, both lost to Cy
Jones. Exactly. All right, moving up. Main card time now. We've got Nate Landwehr versus Cho Do-Ho. Cho Do-Ho? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Nate Landwehr is 18-5. Choi is 15-4. 18-5 for Nate Landwehr, 15-4 for Choi. 3, 2, 1. Choi. Okay, you picked Choi. I picked Nate Landwehr. Why is this on the main card? Questions that will never be answered. The next one is even worse. Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie, by the way, on a 2-fight losing streak, fighting a guy that's in the rankings on the main card of a pay-per-view over Aljamain Sterling and Evloev, who are in the same division, higher ranked than both of these guys. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. There's Gracie privilege. There's no Dana White privilege in the UFC. There's Gracie privilege in the UFC.
Let it go.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, he's probably just going to beat him up. I don't see Bryce Mitchell getting submitted, but I do see him taking it to the ground. I just don't see him getting submitted by Kron Gracie. Man, come on. It's Kron Gracie. All right, he'd submit my ass, though. I'm not saying that. Like, he'd submit my ass, but he ain't submitting Bryce Mitchell. He's 5-2, by the way, Kron Gracie. All right, next up, we've got Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. This is the rematch. Last time Gane won, depending on which judge you look at, 4 rounds to 1, 5 rounds to 1. Really, the only round that you could give Volkov is the first, but he was competitive in the 3rd and the 5th. So there is some sort of argument that you can make that Volkov can make adjustments to eventually win the fight, but Cyril Gane did handedly win that fight. It was Gane's closest fight that he won, though. Yeah. Out of all the fights that Cyril Gane has won, other than getting knocked down by Tai Tuivasa, the Volkov win is his closest fight. So, Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov. If Cyril Gane wins, this puts him in a good spot to fight maybe Tom Aspinall for the interim heavyweight title.
I was thinking about that.
I don't know what they do with the heavyweight division anymore. Until they unify the belts, it's kind of in a weird spot. Do you really have Tom defend again?
I mean, why not? Because then...
Man. At that point, you got to strip Jones. If Tom Aspinall is a 2-time defending interim heavyweight champ, you got to strip Jones at that point. Like, come on. You can't just keep him around there when Tom Aspinall is defending the world title.
Brock Lesnar did the same thing.
Yeah, whatever. All right, 3, 2, 1, Cyril Gane. All right. I kind of hope Volkov wins. I kind of do, but I think...
Anthony Smith wins against...
Yo, that'd be great. That'd be crazy. All right. Next up, co-main event was supposed to be Rakhmonov versus Bilal in the main event. It is now Rakhmonov versus Ian Machado Gary in the co-main event. Rakhmonov, obviously 18-0. Gary, obviously 15-0. Gary is on 8-fight win streak in the UFC. Rakhmonov's on a 5-fight win streak in the UFC. Rakhmonov, 18 finishes in 18 fights. Ian Gary, it's had like 1 or 2 finishes thrown in there. It's not that bad, but I mean, he's kind of a decision machine at this point. He somehow wins decisions on the feet. It's very hard to win decisions on the feet, but Ian Gary manages to do it every time. So I heard rumors that Rakhmonov submitted Ian Gary in the training room. Mm-hmm. Does he do that in real life? Because they've trained together.
Yeah.
They know each other. They've trained together. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. And there is apparently footage of Rakhmonov submitting Gary. Mm. I also can see that Gary could put the paws on Rakhmonov and knock him out. It's possible.
You got to give Gary his props for even stepping up for this fight.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Put everything on the
line. A week
line.
Early, too. He was supposed to fight next week against Buckley. Mm. He steps up a week early against Rakhmonov. Winner gets a title fight against Bilal. We all know that. Man, you got your pick. This is a difficult one, but 3, 2, 1.
Ian Gary.
I've got Rakhmonov.
I got Ian Gary only because the longer the fight goes, the more I see Ian Gary winning.
I can see that. Rakhmonov has been rocked in 3rd rounds before. But you can't take away the fact that he's finished every single opponent he's ever fought. He's never been to decision. Rakhmonov has knocked out or submitted every single person.
I want Rakhmonov to win, but I feel like the longer the fight, like when it comes to a stand,
five rounds, by the way.
5 rounds. Okay. First 2 rounds is gonna be a little hard, but I see Ian Gary hitting Rakhmonov early. And then Rakhmonov kind of backing up, taking his time. And I heard Ian Gary's jiu-jitsu's not too bad.
Yeah, he's been training with Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, and when I watch Rakhmonov fight, he has good striking, but it's not as crisp as Ian Gary's.
Yeah.
So in those small exchanges before he may shoot for a takedown or when setting things up, he might find trouble. But I do see him getting a finish.
Ian Gary?
No, Rakhmonov as well.
Yeah, I feel like Gary's best way to win would be by decision. Mm. And Rakhmonov's obviously a finishing machine. I think he'll probably get the finish.
Yeah.
I can also see Ian Gary clipping Rakhmonov, knocking him down, finishing him on the ground. I think it's possible. I don't see it being a one-sided domination by Rakhmonov. I feel like he's going to get a finish at some point, maybe just like a random exchange, and then Rakhmonov grabs the choke and chokes Ian Gary out, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a competitive fight until the finish.
Yeah.
All right. And then that'll set, obviously, the winner up to fight Belal. I think that's going to be even a harder fight. I think Belal's grappling is going to be used effectively against Gary or Rakhmonov. That's going to be coming down the line. We'll figure that out when we figure that out. But
anybody, I know Belal's a boring fighter, but he's a good fighter.
He is a good fighter.
He knows what he's doing. We've seen him strike with Leon, and I was even surprised at that. I didn't expect too much from Leon.
I think we talked about it last week, but Belal Muhammad he's very good at stealing rounds.
Yeah.
He's very good at it. He can steal a round very well with just the perfectly timed takedown right at the end. Steals him around. He could do that to basically anyone.
Yeah.
So, except maybe Usman. I feel like people with takedown defense that have good hands will give Belal trouble.
Usman's knees.
That's true, too. But he was able to stuff takedowns from Chimaev. I think he could stuff takedowns from Belal.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I think we can move up to the main event so we could get you out of here so you're not late. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura. Obviously, Pantoja's couple of losses have come to guys like Davison Figueiredo. High-level guys. I think one of his losses was also to Oscar Askarov, who's no longer with the company anymore. But these are 5 years ago at this point now. He's been on a crazy win streak right now. Well, not the craziest win streak. I think it's only a 7-fight win streak or so. It's not the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But the way he's been winning, except against Steve Erceg, have been pretty good. Kai Asakura, haven't seen him fight much. I've seen some clips. Obviously, he fought in Ryzen, which is you're allowed to throw soccer kicks and knees to the ground at opponent. This is going to be much different. He's not allowed to do any of that. And those are where from the footage I've seen, those are where most of his finishes come from.
Yeah.
Is soccer kicks on the ground or knees to a grounded opponent. Not allowed to do that anymore.
No, you're allowed to knee a grounded opponent now.
To the stomach, but you're not allowed to knee them in the face.
Oh, not the back of the head, side of the head.
Yeah, no. And that I feel like that's where most of Kai Asakura's finishes have come from what I've seen. Now, without that aspect of it, it's a different style of fight now. Kai Asakura has lost 3 fights ago. He also lost to Manel Kape, who Pantoja beat 2-1. Manel Kape did win the 3rd round against Pantoja. But Kai Asakura lost to Manel Kape. I really don't see why Kai Asakura is even in this title fight right now, honestly. I think you have a Kai already on the roster who deserves a title fight. Kai Kara France. But I mean, I guess I don't know. This is a weird fight to throw together. Let's go. Let's put our picks down so we can flesh this out a little more. All right. Kai Asakura or Alexandre Pantoja. 3, 2, 1. Pantoja. All right. Pantoja has been on a roll lately. I mean, he beat Steve Erceg. He beat Brandon Moreno. He's beaten Brandon Royval. He's been on a tear of the flyweight division at this point now. No matter how many wins Brandon Moreno picks up, no matter how many wins Brandon Royval has picked up, they're both 2-0 against the champ. It's going to be real hard for them to get their way back to a title fight. Brandon Moreno just picked up a win over Amir Albazi. Brandon Royval just picked up a win over Teshiro Taira. Those are 2 prospects that were coming up the rankings. Those 2 guys just cleared those 2 out. So now it's literally just back to Pantoja, Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval, and Kai Kara France. By the way, Kai Kara France has also lost to both Moreno and Royval. So, I don't know, man. This is I guess I can understand why Kai Asakura is kind of just getting thrown in here, but at the same time, I feel like even though Kai Kara-France had those bad losses against those two guys that are still above him, you still could have given him the fight. I think Amir Albazi, you could have given him the fight instead of throwing him in there with Brandon Moreno, but now that Brandon Moreno won, you kind of got to clear him off the list. Yeah. So it leaves you with Kai Asakura, and that's what we're getting. We don't know much about him. It's going to be hard to really talk about him right now because we don't know much about him, but we know Pantoja, and we know that he's number 5, 6, 7 ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to bet against Pantoja at this point.
Pantoja's not... He's an exciting fighter. You can say that.
I could say that he has exciting fights because of the people that he fights. I don't think Pantoja's style is necessarily the most exciting. I think the people that he fights bring out fun fights out of him, like Steve Erceg, Brandon Moreno, Brandon Royval. Like, these guys brought the best out of Pantoja. Yeah. But Pantoja's style is kind of a little... It's kind of just swing wildly, run in, scoop a takedown, and then ground and pound or try and get the sub. It's not exactly the most entertaining style, but when you have a guy that's good enough to defend those takedowns and keep him on the feet and try and... That's when it gets interesting. So, will this be an interesting fight? I don't know about Kai Asakura's takedown defense. I have no clue what his takedown defense looks like.
Yeah.
He could just get smothered in the first round. We don't know. I haven't watched enough clips on him, honestly.
I haven't heard of him.
Haven't really heard of him. I've heard of him a couple of times just from list videos on YouTube. MMA On Point has done some lists where he's involved. So I knew somewhat about him. He's had some fights against guys in the UFC like Manel Kape. We just don't know about him right now. We're going to have to dig in more deep. When we do our review next week, we'll be doing live reactions for this Saturday. We will also be doing a full breakdown next Tuesday. That's when we'll really dig into how good is Kai Asakura, how well will he do in the division if he loses, how well will he do defending the title if he wins. Yeah. That'll be where we really talk more about it. But right now, I think we can sign out. You've got 10 minutes before you have to leave, or before you have to get out of here, so... do you have anything else you want to say before I sign us off? We went through this pretty quickly and pretty smoothly.
Rakhmonov and Gary is going to be fight of the year.
I don't see that happening, but I think it'll be a good fight. I don't know about fight of the year. We'll see, though. Maybe I'll hold you to that. We'll talk about it next week. We'll see how you would rank it in that. And then after that, we'll be doing predictions for Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley next week. Go. And then the next week after that, I think it'll be time. We'll do our review on Colby versus Joaquin, and then we might give out some MMA awards. So that wait for 2 weeks from now, MMA awards for the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. We'll set up our lists. We'll go through, and we'll give who we think fighter of the year, women's fighter of the year, knockout of the year, submission of the year, event of the year. We'll go through and we'll do all of them. That'll probably be 2 weeks from now, so stay tuned for that. Next week, reviewing this and predicting for Covington versus Joaquin. Thank you for joining me, Elijah. Thank you for coming. I know you don't have much time on Tuesdays anymore, but I still appreciate you coming and joining us for this podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Of course. If you guys haven't seen our pound-for-pound list, go back last week. Tell Elijah why he's wrong. Tell him why his list sucks. Thank you guys for watching the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. Thank you, Elijah, for coming. I have been your host, Justin. This has been the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. Thank you, MMA fans, and peace out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, too.